Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to OnFest 2013's League of Legends tournament on Chaos TV, and both of these teams looking to take home a split of the €5,000 prize pool, Dark Passage and Bulgarian Snipers. We'll see if Dark Passage get tunnel vision this game. I'm sorry, too early. And I am Pulse, and I am at Impulsible, and I am joined by Messers at Messers TV.
Oh, you didn't drop a pun that early in the game, you didn't. I refuse to believe it, Pulse. Oh, Jesus. Regardless, though, as you say, we are into the picks and bans. Fizz, Corki, and Caitlyn have all been eliminated. Second consecutive game we've actually seen Caitlyn being banned out, which is quite interesting. Corki makes a lot more sense with the Triforce changes. He is a much stronger champion overall. Well, most notably to Phage. And Zed has also been banned out. This is something we're seeing a lot in the Worlds as well, actually, Pulse. A lot of those assassination champions like Fizz, Zed, and Kassadin all being taken out here. Be curious to see if they leave Ari open, though.
Yeah, the kind of trifecta of mid lane right now is Fizz, Ari, and Zed. And then you'll get Kasten thrown there as well. But like those three champions are pretty much king right now. And with the Phage changes, I can see why Caitlyn is starting, well, at least a lot of people are starting to see Caitlyn as very, very good with Phage. Just building it early game, leaving it like that, then going for a general AD carry build is all you really need. And Caitlyn is almost impossible to pin down anyway, so then when she has the extra movement speed and then she builds like Feral Boots or something along those lines, it's like impossible to shut Caitlyn down in team fights and at least in laning phase. So at least in that sense, she's very difficult to play against, and it looks like we'll have Shen locked in along with Ari. And I'm gonna wait until we see what Panda brings out, but he's currently hovering over Teemo.
Would not expect to see a Teemo picked up this early. In fact, I just wouldn't expect to see one full stop. It's typically a character you see in solo queue playing against characters like Nasus or Singed, purely because it's just a very irritating champion, but you very rarely see it at the top level of play. Ari, though, as we said before, was expecting maybe to see her getting banned out. This is something we've seen a lot in Worlds. Not going to be the case. First lock-in, not too surprising there. But they are going to be picking up Thresh, and I know that Thresh is a champion, not just because of the name of their team, but actually that Dark Passage loves to play. So that is a direct pick against the side of Dark Passage.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking towards the Lee Sin pickup currently. They've actually swapped over to Gragas, but another 20 seconds on the timer. They have plenty of room to maneuver. Looking over Garen, I'm not going to assume that he's going to be coming out. Also Tryndamere. So Tryndamere, I'm thinking, well, we saw a resurgence of Tryndamere a little while back where that great split pushing potential was so difficult to deal with. And now with Phage, I can see him being even stronger. But alas, not going to be locked in, and it will be Lulu and Lee Sin.
Yep, Lee Sin was crushing faces last time around that we saw him just previously on Kalug, I believe. And as you say, Tryndamere is an interesting one because I also remember, if you go back a bit further, Pulse, when he was played as AP, and he was a real terror at top lane because could suddenly just heal himself back up to full from zero. But Lulu getting locked in, and that's pretty interesting to me, Pulse, because there was a time not so long ago where Lulu was one of the main supports locked in. I don't know about you, but definitely in the EUS Challenger Series, which of course is the other tournament that us at Chaos TV cast a lot of the time, haven't seen Lulu for a long time actually. She's definitely not been one of the most active supports out there.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of like she's outclassed by a lot of the other supports right now, because you look at Zyra, which has been banned out this game, you look at Thresh, which has already been picked up, and then there's like Nami, and that's kind of the top support, and Sona as well, completely forgot about Sona. But Lulu offers high poke, but if you want to go for high poke, you go for Zyra. So that's kind of, I see like a targeted ban coming up from Bulgarian snipers. It's like, okay, we know you really like those zoning control bot lane supports, so we'll ban out Zyra. Then you'll be left with Lulu, who was still good, but performs a slightly different role, but is still, you know, good in their own right. But it kind of like hamstrings them a little bit in that sense. So we can see why they've done that. And the last couple picks will be Tristana and Vladimir by Holy Phoenix and Holy Froth.
Yep, Vladimir. Interesting, taking a leaf out of TSM and Dyrus's book, potentially, at the top lane. And you can see that Bulgarian snipers right now are just flicking between quite a few champions. Would not expect to see Victor coming in. We did see it in the US Challenger Series, actually, played as a support, if you remember, Paul. So you never quite know of these teams what they're going to be bringing out. But judging off the rest of their picks, I'd expect to see it being their mid laner. So yeah, Orianna would make a lot of sense with the Shen ball delivery system, and also the Nocturne Paranoia flying on in. That's a very meaty buff front line for Vayne to run rampant afterwards, so could very well be a case of protect the Vayne composition coming in here, and indeed it will be the Orianna getting picked in.
Yeah, I agree. These are two very meaty team compositions when it comes to team fights as well. Shen will be looking for the split pushing, they'll have great mobility in the laning phase, and I feel that's really where Bulgarian snipers will start to shine. When they get those level 6 ultimates, when Nocturne has that sort of semi-global ultimate, and then Shen has that global teleport, that'll be really, really nasty to play against, and tying that in with Fresh at the bot lane, then you'll just be able to pull someone like Orianna into contention, and you could potentially have like a 5-man gag literally out of nowhere. Very scary to play against, especially in that laning phase. But anyway, guys, I believe we're jumping to a quick commercial break, and when we get back, we'll be in game with Bulgarian snipers and Dark Passage. We'll see you soon.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Chaos TV's live coverage of the OnFest LAN here, and we are jumping right into this game between Dark Passage and Bulgarian snipers. I'm Metis, and I'm joined by Mr. Pulse once again here. Do you see any early engages kicking off here, Pulse, or do you think both teams are going to respect one another?
It's very possible. Both these teams have very good level 1s, specifically Fresh with the hook. He can catch someone out of position, they can get a pick out. On the flip side though, there's a lot of early game damage coming in from Dark Passage. Very difficult to play against. Therefore, well, actually it looks like both of these teams going to go for the respective red buffs, so they probably won't meet each other, at least in the first couple levels, or the first level, the level 1 fight. But they're going to be putting down the aggressive wards, going to see them right there. It's now up to Bulgarian snipers to think, okay, do we want to like collapse onto Lee Sin if they try to steal, or do we want to try and go for their own red buff? So there's a lot of mind games going on in the first couple minutes.
Yeah, but there is a ward down on the red right now, so it seems like both teams are actually just going to pull themselves back. And 3 wards already placed out. In fact, make that 4 wards already placed out from the red team of Bulgarian snipers. So these guys are getting so much vision on the map already, pulling back to their blue buff. And understandably so as well, Pulse, because last game that we were casting, remember that Lee Sin got the first blood at the red buff, and from there on it pretty much snowballed. So in this best of 1 format, really, one big mistake can make or break your team.
Yeah, and I would say that it's very typical for supports to not go for like a Fairy Charm or Rejuvenation Bead and go straight for all of those wards. And they've actually basically just opted all for the standard division wards, the site wards, sorry. So they can put down all those aggressive wards and make sure they have absolute vision, because the early game, that's absolutely invaluable. And in the bot lane, okay, so we have Dark Passage opting for the swap up. And where's Lulu gone? Lulu's heading towards the red buff. Looks like she's going to be starting us off for Lee Sin. Pings come out. We'll now look towards Bulgarian snipers to try and collapse down upon them, but they will have the extra member advantage if they move Tristana down. Shen is around the area. Froth actually face check. They find her alongside Panzer. Ari is there as well, putting down some auto attacks. Rista backs on off, taking some damage. Froth throwing out a nice Glisser Lance. And it's still going after this though. Where did the red buff go? Went on to Lee Sin, so he actually came out successful.
Yeah, Coconut's OP there, and he will get the successful invade. coming about here. Actually throwing the coconut in again, so Panzer catches that one. And just something I'm going to have to apologise in advance, guys. I know I'm going to mess this up at some point. We have a player called Shishen on Oriana, and also a Shen like character being played. So if I make the mistake, Pulse, it's because I've not actually slept yet. So I'm kind of sleep deprivated, and I'm not the greatest of people with names in the first place. But yeah, as you say, the lane switch-up's coming about here. And in terms of composition, very strong coming out here from the red team of Bulgarian snipers. They've got a lot of global kind of cards being placed down, face down right now. Panzer is going to be retaliating in the best possible way and going ahead and stealing that red buff back. Here come the two junglers, going to be butting heads any second now. In fact, Riosta going straight past as Vladimir is taking quite a bit of damage at bot lane. Here we go. The fear coming off from Nocturne is going to force the safeguard and the charm. Also, the Orb of Deception comes in. Ignite's been popped off onto Riosta. Flashes come through aplenty, and that is going to be first blood picked up from the Vayne from Bulgarian snipers.
That was so good mechanically from Bulgarian snipers. They went for the red buff invade, then pulled it out so the Lee Sin Q would miss. And then he went in anyway because he assumed he might still be there. And then he kind of hesitated, gave enough time for Ahri to come down, but because they had the two members of bot lane able to react, they essentially sandwiched him in, so there was nowhere for Lee to go. Flashes were being popped, and then Vayne was waiting on the other side. So it was just very good mechanically in terms of team play coming out from Bulgarian snipers. But also, if in doubt, Shishen translated into English as godlike. So that was his name before he changed it to Shishen. So if in doubt matters, call him godlike.
Well, that's actually a pretty impressive name, godlike. It definitely has a certain ring about it, but let's hope from his perspective he can live up to that name in mid. You're going to be playing against Naru, who has picked up the Ahri here, so it's going to be a difficult one for both the mid laners. There's not necessarily an outright winner here, but with these lane switch-ups, Pulse, let's get back to kind of theory crafting while we have kind of a lull in the action. Who's going to come out better between Vladimir and Shen, in your opinion, in this engage?
It depends. Both of these laners are very good in 1 versus 2s. Shen can keep himself sustained. He's actually fairly decent at CSing under turret, and Vladimir also at the same time. Vladimir needs a couple more levels to really get rolling. He needs to get to level 4 when he has a couple points in his transfusion, and then he can start to ramp up the damage from Tides of Blood. So he needs a bit of help in the early game. That will come out from Lee Sin, Riosta, of course. And in top lane, Shen's kind of good from the offset, so it gives at least Panzer more time to kind of farm up, get to that level 6 when Nocturne really is strongest. Because yes, he likes to have the double buff. He goes for his own sort of small engagements, maybe even dueling the enemy jungler, but his real time to shine is when he hits that level 6. So it gives a bit of more leeway for Panzer and generally helps their laning phase, because as we mentioned in Champion Select metas, that their composition is based around doing well in the laning phase, with the teleport from Lee Sin and the paranoia from Panzer.
Yeah, definitely the case, but it's going to be quite interesting to me to see how this one kind of transitions into the latter stages, because both Tristana and Vayne do very well with some farm behind them. They are both regarded as being hyper carries late game, so it's going to be quite curious and intriguing to find out which of these two AD carries is going to get ahead on the farming frenzy. Currently dead even, 44 to 45, and both pushing this tower. Shen's tower is pretty low alongside Vladimir's, but here comes Panzer on Nocturne round from the side, going to be helping out Lelouch at the top lane. They should be okay. Meanwhile at bot lane, Vladimir finding himself in a 1 versus 2. The Q comes through. Death Center's not quite connecting this time.
Yeah, so when we hit teamfights metas, I'm looking at both these compositions. Vladimir is also seen to be a hyper carry of kind of the AP world. Now the triple push comes in from the top lane, connects the Q, Shadow Dash comes out into Tempest and the cripple, flash in from Lelouch, and he should be good to go, but probably losing his tower in the process. In fact, the minions will pick that one up. In the bot lane, Vladimir is still alive and kicking and doing very well indeed, so they've already got the slight advantage as Lazy Shadow takes some hits. And when we hit team fights, I do think they're going to be slightly stronger unless Vayne gets massively ahead.
Oh, Fabulous being forced to pop off the Sanguine pool right there as a death sentence came through. 4 players starting to congregate at this bot tower. Not looking good for Fabulous. Will be popping off the Ghost instantaneously, however. And that will keep him alive and kicking for now. And with the tower pickup, they're just going to back themselves off. So, tower for tower, 100 gold in it. But when you consider that the first blood went to Bulgarian snipers, you've got to say overall, the blue team of Dark Passage farming just a tiny bit better.
Yeah, that was very good. They realized that if they didn't take that turret, then they could swap the duo lane into that bot lane, and then it would be almost impossible to take it. So maintaining that kind of transition period where you have like 30 seconds to a minute, where they still have that single lane down there, they collapsed upon the tower, picked it up, and brought it even. Now, I would expect to see Tristana and Lulu move down there, so they have the extra control over Dragon when they do eventually go for that. Panzer just waiting in the wings, allowing Orianna to pick up the blue buff. And honestly, I think in the next couple minutes, we will start to see at least a small skirmish, if not a full team fight, open up around the Dragon area.
Definitely could be the case. With these two towers falling, kind of this mirror switch up, bot and top respectively, looking like the two duo lanes are going to meet up at bot lane, or at least Tristana's going down there. So Holy Phoenix and also Holy Thoth are going to be congregating at the bot and also walking over on top of a ward. So this kind of opens up exactly what you were saying before, Pulse. With both the duo lanes at bot, it definitely signifies that both teams could very quickly transition into that Dragon area, especially when you consider that Lilouch has the Stand United available off cooldown and can instantaneously just get himself from top to Dragon if they so choose, whereas Vladimir does not have teleport, flash and ghost. If he goes to farm at top lane, suddenly you could find yourself Bulgarian snipers just going ham for the Drake.
Yeah, BG snipers definitely have the advantage over the Dragon fight if they choose to go for it. The play right now from Dark Passage would be either to move the Vladimir down and then aggress onto it themselves, try and get a pick, and then they can get it, and it would be 5 versus 4 regardless. But then they're leaving top tower open to Shen. So they've got to play this clever, they've got to play it smart, and their ganking potential in these lanes is okay, but it's going to be hard for Lee Sin really to do anything, especially against the Thresh in the bot lane, and also Orianna. I think Orianna's probably his best bet if he's going to get a kill and then a pick into Dragon. He's going to be sitting down at bot lane. This could be quite dicey, but the hard engage from Phoenix and Froth is quite strong. But Volcata going to go for that himself, though. Box comes out, Lady Shadow is there, gets knocked back with the Buster Shot coming from Phoenix. Knocked back with Dragon's Race. Lilouch comes down, Stand United. And they still looking to follow up. Lilouch is still there, but his teammates have dropped incredibly low. Phoenix moves forwards aggressively with the rocket jump. Now Shen coming into the bot lane. Naru in hot pursuit. Another death-scented slash. He finishes off the kill. Flash comes out. Tower shot comes in. Lazy Shadow still looking to output some damage. Flash comes out, and the barrier comes in. He's still dropping low. He's now caught in a terrible position. 3 versus 1. Froth is trying his best. Auto attack comes in for Shen. Picks up 1 kill. Looks for the follow-up. And the Q comes out from Panzer, double kill for Shen. That's a 2-for-2 trade overall, but they're in a much better position to pick up Drake. But in the top lane, Vlad has taken the initiative.
Oh man, that was such a good Dragon's Rage from Riosta early on, going through all 4 players. Now finds himself in a really precarious position as the taunt will be landing, safeguarding onto the ward. The ward jump has came and gone right now. Ignite's ticking down, but he is going to be able to survive by the skin of his teeth. Has he done enough disruption to stop this Dragon being taken as well? Yes, he has. So a 2-for-2 trade overall, but they don't pick up the Dragon, and Vladimir not able to pick up the top tower. However, that is going to allow Naru to just push very aggressively, pick up the mid tower. Here he comes right now, being chased after both Panzer and also Shen. The Unspeakable Horror has propped off, so the fear comes in. Here comes the flash as well from Naru. The Spirit Rush has 11 seconds on cooldown. Fabulous in the right place at the right time. Can he pick up that 1 kill onto Panzer? Answer is a resounding no, as the protection ball comes in from Shen. And at the end of all of that, nobody falling, but lots of abilities burned in the process.
This is a very close game, Metas, and there's literally nothing in it. I think the transition into late game is slightly better from Bulgarian snipers, and I feel that their team is very sort of parabolic power curve, you know, that term that we like to use. They're strong in the early game, and they have the potential to go huge, and right now they're 1 kill ahead but a tower behind. They're actually aggressing onto the Dragon right now from Dark Passage. And right now, Volcata is around the area. They know they've been spotted. Nocturne is also there. Doesn't have the paranoia up, but does also have the smite. But it's enough to just kind of make them back up, because they can't afford to go for anything else. Insect backwards. Doesn't knock him over the wall, though. Lazy Shadow's there. Ward jumps to the ward. That's not actually over the wall, though, and he gets picked up in the process by Panzer.
That's far too aggressive though, Pulse. I mean, yes, you got the mechanical skill and it's impressive, but you're putting yourself in a really precarious position, backs against the wall. And as you say, ward jumping, fair enough, nice little movement, but it's not going to get you over the the kind of wall area. It's not going to get you back to Sanctuary, and now bot lane's being chased. Death Sentence will be living up to its name, but not before Tristana picks up that kill. So Holy Phoenix gets some revenge beforehand. Can Holy Thoth survive? No. That's going to be double kill coming in for Vayne, who now moves to a 3 versus 1. Meanwhile, the two mid laners are going head to head. Shishen running away, and the W coming out, but Naru is still in hot pursuit, will be picking up that kill. Here comes the paranoia from the side, Unspeakable Horror as well. Any second now will be procced off. In fact, he's not bothered, doesn't have enough mana for that one as the Duskbringer goes down. So at the end of all of that action, that was a hatful of kills between the two teams, but still, Paul, somehow, some way, that dragon's alive.
Yeah, Bulgarian snipers are still leading in kills, but they do have that tower down. If they reclaim a tower, they'll be in really good shape. They need to stay ahead of the curve, basically, for Shen to be able to split push, for Nocturne to be able to get into those fights. And honestly, this is the best case scenario. They want to be going for picks, they want the small skirmishes, because a full-on team fight probably won't go as well for them as you would kind of expect, because the team fight is a lot better from Dark Passage in general. It will take Vladimir a little while to kind of scale up and become the hyper carry of the AP carry, but even so, their team fight is so good kind of over a longer duration, because Bulgarian snipers have great burst and great lockdown, but after that it's all reliant on Vayne, and Vayne is 3-1-1 right now, which is good, but they kind of need a little bit more time to get rolling. And I think that's kind of representative of both of these teams. Holy Phoenix finds himself Borkata, doesn't choose to engage, and we might have a team fight erupting very shortly. Death Sentence lands onto Tristana, Shishen from the backside. Dark Passage comes down, Naru is also there, doesn't land a charm, but Ryasta is right there, picks up the kill with Dragon's Rage. Borkata is still on the front lines, tanking as much damage as he can. Lazy Shadow has been zoned out, double kill comes in for Vladimir, Holy Phoenix gets knocked back. This is surely a dead Vayne, with the Blade of Rune King coming out, just not enough healing. And that's exactly what we just said, Messa's teamfight is so much better.
It's all well and good being 3-1 on Vayne, your AD carry, because it's going to be very, very scary, but if your entire team gets melted and disintegrates before your very eyes, Vayne's not going to be able to do anything, as we just saw there. And off the back of that, that's a lot of kills coming down to the side, plus a dragon as well. And the blink of an eye goes from being a fairly even game to nearly a 5,000 gold discrepancy in the hands of Dark Passage. I was just about to say before that fight kicked off, Pulse, there's somewhat of a role reversal from game number 1 between Test Your Limits and Kalu OP, which was a very one-sided affair. This was very close for the large percentage of the first 15 minutes. However, now, Dark Passage has started to escalate and steamroll ahead.
Yeah, it's very difficult from Bulgarian snipers because they can snowball, and we've started to see that, but unless they really build up momentum, it's a very momentum-based team, and if they don't get that momentum, and if they are stopped, it's very difficult to catch up again. In the late game, they still have the potential, but that's like 40 minutes to wait until you're going to be strong again. So either they get those picks, they go for the right engagements like 4 versus 3s or 3 versus 2s, then it's not going to look good, and Dark Passage will start to bring up the heat.
They will. Speaking of which, Fab is running into... Look at the damage, actually, just from the Tides of Blood and the Transfusion. They come round, they manage to steal away that red buff. Now Fab is in all kinds of trouble as the Feint will land on top of it with the taunt as well. Nice Dragon's Rage again from Rios. The right place at the right time. Paranoia comes through. That's going to be the Sanguine Pool. Flashing from Panther and the Unspeakable Horror. But here comes the charm from Naru, saving the life of Vladimir. Fab is going to say thank you very much. And the definitely the payback comes in about here. Shockwave is used as well from Shishen. That's going to be a double kill, transitioning into a triple kill. Can he go one better and get the quadra on Lilau, who's running away? Not even going to bother to chase that one out. But again, you're talking about the fact that there is such an advantage in these team fight situations. And that's exactly what we saw right there from Dark Passage.
We're 12-6, they're 7k ahead, and in 2 minutes metas, they completely flipped the game on its head, and now they're in such a good position. They can teamfight whenever they want. Lilau can't split push because he really can't they can send anyone against him and they can probably duel him out. Specifically Vladimir, but they want him for teamfight. They can probably send Ari, and there's nothing that Shen can do. He can't push against her, and he can't duel her either, so they don't have that in their arsenal. And then they can't teamfight either because Lazy Shadow hasn't vamped up enough, and Shen isn't tanky enough for the front line.
And again, Dark Passage is showing they are the terrifying Turks. They are such a difficult team to beat. We've casted these a number of times in the past, Pulse, and they've always been very, very strong. just there, it's seeing Fab running in and saving Naru earlier on in this game, and definitely returning the favor that time around. Somehow Fab escaped with like 50 hit points, I think it was, with a Paranoia flying in, a pixel perfect charm from Naru landing on the face of Panzer and stopping that one dead in its tracks. Unspeakable Horror again goes down, but Lee Sin's going to be just fine. Wards go down aplenty, and as you said completely correctly, just in a matter of a couple minutes, this game has escalated from a very even matchup to 8,000 goal discrepancy. Death sentence lands. I don't think they want to follow up on that one though.
No. The biggest thing right now from Bulgarian snipers is they can't go for an engagement because Shichen doesn't do enough damage to kind of initiate it, even if they do get like the death sentence onto the perfect person of either Phoenix or Naru. So it won't be enough to kind of initiate. If it lands on 5 people, that'll be great, but their follow-up is fairly weak. They have a strong front line, but apart from that, they don't offer that much. They essentially have Nocturne being a tank, and then Shen as well. He needs some sort of damage, and this is kind of like a recurring thing I'm seeing specifically from the kind of Eastern European meta so far. Metas that they like to go for a tanky jungler, tanky top lane, but they kind of lack damage unless they do well. But this time, because Fabulous is on Vladimir, they have more damage to bring to the table.
Yeah, and if you look at the opposition side right now of Bulgarian snipers, it definitely fits into what you're saying right there. They're building Nocturne as full tank. Shen, of course, is always going to go full tank, unless, you know, you pick up a Triforce or something alongside that. But a lot of the onus, a lot of the pressure is on the shoulders of Lazy Shadow. It's effectively saying, okay, we want to play a Protector Vayne composition, we want you to melt their entire team. It's simply not happening. You know, Bulgarian snipers have got a lot of global presence in the form of Stan United, Shen, and the Paranoia coming in from Nocturne, but they're being pushed so far back into their own base, they're not able to utilize any of that global presence. They can't. It's the same kind of mentality as when you play against the Twisted Fate. If you push him back on his tower, Destiny and the gate afterwards is just no longer useful. You can't go ahead and roam, because you're just being forced back, backs against the wall. So you've got to say, the Dark Passage have played this composition perfectly. They've seen the weaknesses and the strengths from Bulgarian snipers, and have exploited them.
Yeah, however, at least with Twisted Fate, you'd have wave clear, and Bulgarian snipers have very little. They have like Dustbringer into maybe Oriana, her combo, which is very good, but because they don't do enough damage to completely give the wave, that's really going to hurt them. But the gun for an engagement, ball carrier comes in, Froth takes huge damage, Nara is also zoned out. This is absolutely perfect. Fabulous is gone, is right under the tower. The ultimate comes out, the Hemo Plague drops down 3, and now Phoenix actually jumps in so aggressively. Riosa is there, ultimate comes out, picks up 1 kill, jumps towards a Lazy Shadow, looks for the next, and picks up another kill, and in quick succession they pick up 5 kills, and the ace, 5-0.
It looks as though Tristana did all the work there, but I'm honestly going to say that Fab played a perfect team fight. He saw it, he read the script there, and he was a step in front of the storyline. He was like, okay, they're going to hard engage, they're going to shockwave, they're going to taunt on top of it. What am I going to do? Okay, I'm just going to run alongside and Hemo Plague and then Sanguine Blade, Sanguine Pool I should say, underneath your AD carry and completely zone Vayne out of that fight. So you have no damage coming after those big ults going in. That's what we're talking about. So much onus on Vayne to clear up after the engages. But Vladimir, Fab by himself, completely zoned Vayne and actually got the kill on Lazy Shadow at the end. So as soon as Vayne's dead, that's it, it's done.
Yeah, and that's why Vladimir is so scary in team fights, because if he does get to that stage, it's very difficult to shut him down. You either shut him down in the early game and then he's done, or he just only gets stronger. And it's impossible to play against because you can't lock him down. And if it does get to the point where they are starting to focus him, he builds a Zhonya's Hourglass. In fact, that's what he's doing right now. So he says Sanguine Pool, he has the Zhonya's Hourglass, and they switch the focus to him, then he can just completely mitigate that. Then you have to swap aggro, then you go back onto him. It's like, okay, well, you're now focusing me, then I go into Zhonya's. And the damage coming in from Tristana is huge. I just see very little recourse right now from Bulgarian snipers.
Similar position that we saw last time. Well, Katz is actually going to go hard on Tristana, lands the death sentence, but it only pays out the opposite way around, as Thresh will be falling down. Now Fab's being heavy engaged, but Naru coming back in, does get the double kill right there, looking for the potential triple. Beautiful mechanical play to Spirit Rush out of the taunt from Lilauchu. He's not going to get any piece of Nara this time around. So again, even when they land the perfect death sentences on the AD carry, which normally you're licking your lips at as a team like Bulgarian Snipers, you're like, okay, great, go, 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 let's pick up that free kill. It's backfiring still, Pulse. They simply don't have enough damage. This is pretty much GG at this point in the game.
Yeah, it's gotten to the stage where they need like a 5 versus 3 almost immediately after like 2 picks. And that's just not viable in any sense of the game at this stage. They just can't go for those picks because they are so maneuverable. They have Ari, who will just split rush out of the way. They have Lee Sin and Holy Phoenix on Tristana. They just can't go for picks on people. And if they do, then the team will just collapse on them too quickly because they're being pushed in so hard. Now Lee Louch in the top lane, I don't rate his chances of survival very high, honestly, Metas.
Yeah, good luck, have fun. It's probably going to be over, especially as your tower just fell down. Oh, look at that. Beautiful play from Riosta. Tried to get the dark passage, he says, nope, Chuck Tester, and kicks him back again. And Tristana will finish that one up. Really smart play from Riosta. And with Shen being out for 30 seconds, they're going to go for one last hurrah. This is the final possibility. And Lazy Shadow has been completely decimated from Ari. And also Lee Sin jumping in there. Cocoon? The Cocoon? Wow, the Coconut, I should say. I've been watching too much Elise recently.
Yeah.
Goes through, not going to be landing. Yeah, Cocoon, Coconut, close enough. Completely different things altogether, but regardless, it looks like it's going to be another tower.
That would be scary though if Lee Sin had Cocoon in his arsenal as well. It'd just be like
Right, please.
stuns. Yeah, that'd be so overpowered. But in the top lane, pushing down the inhibitor, and Lazy Shadow isn't on the board. Shen and Panda are just tied up clearing the minions, and they don't have the damage even for that. I'm not entirely sure how they can go for a team fight. And it's starting to get to the point where they're almost 20k behind. Bokassa finds himself Riosta, but there's not the pick he wants. 20k, it's 24 minutes. That's it's quite a lot.
Yeah, not really much you can add to that, Pulse, really. All 3 inhibs are down as well. So at this point, this would have to be a Herculean throw from the side of Dark Passage. They would actually have to throw a number of times. Like, throw it so hard it went round the earth a few times before Bulgarian Snipers could even hope that a glimmer of a whiff of a chance of bringing this game back. And they're also just going to pick up a Baron because, you know, why the hell not? Just to rub salt in the wounds. Bulgarian Snipers, they can hold their heads high, Pulse, because for the first 15 or so minutes, they were right in this game. It was very, very close. But as we said, suddenly a massive burst of energy, an explosion from Dark Passage, and they just leapfrogged over Bulgarian Snipers, and from there on it just snowballed very, very quickly.
I feel that Snipers were way too keen to go for team fights. It's like, okay, we're ahead now, go for team fights. And they just can't afford to do that against Dark Passage. Their team is so good at team fighting. Not just in mechanical skill, but the characters in themselves. They do have a beefy front line, they still have Shen, but I say beefy getting completely torn up. Panda's also there. Backline of Shen and Lazy Shadow, they are backing off to the turret. Ultimate comes down, completely Ocelot. And now Holy Phoenix looking to pick up kills onto the spawn pad. Paranoia comes out, Nexus turret falls, and they are collapsing onto this Nexus. GG, well played comes out. Minions get annihilated by the spawn laser. But that is GG. Dark Passage pick up the game against Bulgarian Snipers.
Yeah, which will mean that they will go on to face Karlu OP in the next stage of the tournament. Whereas, of course, that means that Bulgarian Snipers will drop into the lower bracket and they will face off against Test Your Limits, Pulse. Not entirely sure what we have coming up next or when it's going to be, but I assume it's going to be about 1/2 the hour?
I believe it's on the hour. Because
on
we
the
start,
hour, okay.
Yeah, it's every game has an hour and a half allocated to it. So yeah, because that game was so fast, we will be back in about 40 minutes. So if you want to get something to eat, I know I certainly will because I haven't had breakfast yet. So if you want to go do that, we'll be back soon. But until then, we will see you very shortly. Not sure what the next game is because we haven't been told. But until then, see you shortly.